In 1919, he hit 29 home runs and was sold to the New York Yankees.
A 3-run home run for Buffington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2. Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again.
One hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Varitek and A-Rod going at it. Roberts is going. Posada's throw. Roberts safe.
And what can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
Welcome to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports, episode 82. Can't believe we've come this far. John Senecal, Brian Shackman. What started during the lockdown of the pandemic has become just a great rite of passage here during baseball season, and I thank you for that, John, for coming up with the idea, and it's morphed well beyond that. This is really what we were created to do, though.
Talk about the Yankees and the Red Sox,
yes,
of course.
And we're coming off a 4-game series, and I said when we previewed it, if the Yankees win the first game, they're going to win 3 of 4. And the funny thing about it is the Yankees should have swept the Red Sox.
Absolutely. You jumped right into it. I was going to say the exact same thing. I mean, I had said 2-2 because the Red Sox weren't as good as the Astros, and the Yankees split with the Astros.
Right.
But yeah,
so you
I
were
agree.
right. Technically, you were right.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Brian. I think the Yankees should have swept them. Little shoddy D, some sketchy pitching, but more shoddy D.
Had LeMahieu play.
And Donaldson and, Torres before that in the third game. It's just listen, walks kill you, errors kill you every single time, man. Every time.
It even happens with your kids,
Absolutely.
Austin and Jackson, that you give away outs. Bad things always happen after you give away outs.
Yep.
It's like clockwork how that happens.
The snowball effect is always an effect in baseball, it seems like.
And so, after the first 2 games of the series, a bunch of people, I think it might have been you that pointed this out, that even if the Red Sox won every game head-to-head the rest of the season, they still could not catch the Yankees.
Still couldn't catch them, right.
And so the takeaway is that this doesn't affect the overall thesis that the Yankees are going to win the division.
Right.
But does the 2-2 and does the Yankees sort of throwing up on themselves in the last 2 games change any of your thoughts about A, what the team is, and B, what they need?
So I think, listen, I think the defensive part of it is a little alarming to me. DJ, you can say what you want about DJ, but I feel like he should have been called off on one of the balls one ball last night.
The truth is, if baseball 101, if you're going out,
it's harder.
It's the guy coming in. It's that person's ball.
Right. I would say I get a little worried about the pitching, right? And the reason I say this is because the Yankees pitchers have been incredibly consistent in going deep in games, right? And even this series, they all made it either the 5th or 6th inning.
Yep.
And I worry about that because you'll say the bullpen is rested, right? But then I'll say they're a little inexperienced because, Clay Holmes lately hasn't been as good as he has been. Wandy has been up and down. So I worry a little bit about that. And listen, I texted you guys last night about, oh, God, here comes Chapman, right? I mean, if you have Chapman and your option in the 6th inning is to bring Chapman in, you're not getting him work at that point. He's in a crucial situation, and he's just not the same.
So basically, the chance of him ever being a closer again, all that's gone. That's in a year's time.
You could say that now, but Holmes could implode in August, and they could need him, right? The closing. We were spoiled with our closer with Mariano for so many years,
right? But it's been a long time.
And baseball in general, you don't have closers that last. You saw Papelbon. You saw Keith Folk. Keith Folk was amazing for 3 seasons?
Right, although Kimbrel he found a way to have a couple
Kimbrel's
more.
Bounced around too, right? He's been the resurgence master. But Papelbon, he did his thing and left. But
it is a short window. You're right about that.
A short porch. It's a short window. So to answer your question overall, I am not too worried coming out of the series because, listen, you're not going to lose the division based on people you're playing in the division. Right. But, yes, I worry a little bit about the whole mentality thing. Now, granted, we play, is it 3 more or 4 more games? I think it's 3 more.
What, against
coming up before the break against the Red Sox.
Right, and then they have them again soon after.
After that, in August. Yeah, so, let's see how that plays out, but I think overall, not too disappointed. I'm not happy with the defense. Listen, when Donaldson made that error the other night, I knew the game was over. I knew it.
Really?
I knew it. I was like, you're just not going to recover from that. You have a tailor-made double play, and I said this before, the Red Sox are playing good. Like they're playing good
Are
baseball.
Are they though?
They beat the Yankees twice. You could say they shouldn't have beat them, but they did have a crucial home run. Ref Snyder hit a crucial home run. They had some good hits. Devers was their whole offense in the first game, and they basically picked up the slack, and he was gone after that. JD had a big hit. They did what they needed to do, right?
So here's what I would say. First of all, Pivetta, he lost his first start of the season, which I was at, and then my wife goes to the game last week, and he got shelled, and then he really struggled again, and if I would take any positive out of this series for the Red Sox, is that they actually, even though I don't have a sense of their identity, they obviously don't quit.
No, they definitely did not quit.
And you can tell when you're down 6-2, you can tell for me, I quit. Right. I quit. But the fact that they didn't, and that it shows me that, if you're down 4 or 5 runs and it's, before the 7th inning, they have a chance.
Yep.
And I think that that's my biggest takeaway. They should have been swept. They totally should have lost all 4 games, in my opinion, but they didn't. And I think that that's a testament to Cora and sort of some of the vets who are like, just keep your head down and swing away. And so that's the positive. I don't think that the Red Sox are a championship team, and I don't think they're going to catch the Yankees. But
this series speaks to the fact that if the playoffs happen,
you never know.
You never know.
Sure.
You never know.
I will grant you that. And the Yankees, I still think they're more talented than the Astros, but I'm not sure they beat the Astros in a 7-game series.
No, and again, listen, the Yankees have been playing, their ceiling has been so high. Like, any sort of struggle is like going to be microscoped again. Like, so they're going to, we haven't even gotten to August. We're barely through July. We're in the middle, haven't made the middle of July yet, All-Star break. So a lot of bad baseball can happen. A lot of injuries can happen. So you just hope they stay healthy. You hope the pitching holds out. But again, like I said, I worry about, that could be a double-edged sword. The length of the starters could come back to bite you because they could burn out. You don't think Garrett Cole will, but listen, he had the hamstring problem last year in the playoffs, and it hurt him. But you worry about the inexperience of the bullpen because when you think about it, there's not a ton of experience out there. Wandy's been around the block. Holmes is really young. King is young.
I mean, listen,
Green is gone. He would be the most experienced, but they have Loaizaga hopefully coming back. They have Herman coming back, so that should really help. Loaizaga would be a great addition to getting back in that bullpen.
I mean, it would be stunning. Say the Yankees go on a slump. I mean, say they lose, I don't know what they have going to the break, 7 games or 6 games?
Yeah, six or 7.
So say they go, 2-5 or 1-5 or something
stumble
like
into
that.
the break.
Well, I mean, then arguably you're only up maybe 10 or 11 games, and it feels different.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say that's not going to happen because they're playing Cincinnati, I believe, but they did lose to Pittsburgh. So
you never know.
It's not. I don't think it's going to happen. But listen, let's talk about a little bit more important issue here. The Red Sox, obviously, looking wild card, but someone's knocking on the door big time.
So you want to talk about the Orioles?
I want to talk about the Orioles.
So we were gonna. You're out of order. But my rundown is
but
not.
It's not a bad time to bring.
No,
it up.
It's not. He's John Senecal. I'm Brian Shackman. This is Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports, episode 82. I have to be honest. On my morning radio show on WTIC Newstalk 1080, which you can always stream online, I've been talking about the Orioles for a while now because we talked to a guy who works in D.C. on Fridays, and he's a big Orioles fan, and ever since they called up that catcher, was it Adley Rutschman or whatever?
Yeah.
He hasn't hit that great in terms of average, but I think that whether he's managing the pitchers better or his presence, because they watch him and they see how maybe now is the time and not necessarily 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. I mean, not only going into Monday have they won 8 in a row, they're 1 game under 500, and entering Monday's games, they're 2 back of the wild card.
It's crazy. I remember this. I feel like this was like the second or maybe like the 1 month into the season, I remember texting you guys saying, look who the biggest disappointment in the American League is, the Seattle Mariners. And I said, they have basically the same record as the Orioles were like 2 games above them or something at the time. Right. And now you look at them and they're basically neck and neck too in the wild card race. And again, I feel like, Seattle, they have more like name players. Let's say they have more name players because they try to, the Robbie Ray signed out there, went out there. Free agents do get attracted there, but the Baltimore Orioles have basically been the laughingstock of the AL East for a while now, right?
Years.
For years, right? And I would say that's the team that's playing with house money, right? Because nobody expects anything. And they got a lot of good young players on that team, very good young players. And if you look at their stats, I mean, they're like in the top 3 or 5 in every offensive category in pitching, too.
I haven't done the
lately,
numbers.
in the last month and a half.
Is it possible to have every team in a division over 500? Mathematically, since there's so much head-to-head, you don't have an answer to this, but I wonder if it's possible. And then having said that, I think the Orioles, when you look at the wild card, it's not so much how many games you're back, it's how many teams you have to jump.
Right. And look who they play.
Right. And they have basically
a ton of games.
Seattle's 2 ahead of them, Toronto's 2 ahead of them, and Tampa's 3 ahead of them. And it's only 5.5 to get to Boston. And they play all these teams outside of Seattle
a lot, like
lot.
9 to 12 times still.
And they could imagine if Tampa or Toronto doesn't make it and Baltimore does. I think that would be a great story for baseball. And I think that's a huge hope for, and I don't think the Orioles did total tank, but they kind of tanked. And that's kind of what you have to do in baseball. You have to stockpile young talent.
Yep.
And then you have to crawl back up if you don't have extended windows. So not only that, but they're fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. And it'd be a good story to see them and Seattle going for it, because Seattle's got, they have a good baseball following, right? And especially if they get going, they'll get a ton of people there. They got some great young talent with Julio Rodriguez. He's a very exciting player who made the All-Star team and is probably will win the American League Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Very dynamic player. So it would be great to see that down the stretch and have those players showcase their talent a little bit.
Just talking about one quick thing on Seattle, which they were sort of sleeping on me before this current 8 in a row. Before that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They had won 8 out of 11. So that's 16 out of 19 they've won. It's amazing in baseball, no matter how bad the bad start is a big deal, but if you get hot, you can 2 weeks you can turn your whole season around. I mean, I wasn't paying a single second of attention.
It's amazing if you don't
Seattle.
pay attention how quick it can swing. I feel like I blinked last week, and the Dodgers and the Padres a week and a half ago were right neck and neck, and now I think the Dodgers have an 8-game lead.
Right.
It's crazy, and it's talking about World Series contenders, I would say the Yankees go up against anybody, but they haven't played the Dodgers yet, right? And they won't play the Dodgers this year unless they meet in the World Series.
Which makes the World Series potential awesome.
Even better, right?
Yeah, because it brings you back to the old days when they didn't face each other. I think that's, the Mets are, I'm not saying
Mets
they're
are
done,
not going to make it.
It doesn't sound, well, they might make the playoffs, but I'm not sure they're going
right.
to. Atlanta's a better team.
But again, the Mets, they're going to stake all their money on DeGrom coming back. And Scherzer, you can get out of Scherzer. He'll go out there and pitch if you can't breathe, Yeah,
but you get them in a 7-game series with those 2 guys if they're healthy.
If they're healthy.
That would be a tough one.
Long way to go.
Listen, I want to get back to Red Sox and Yankees a little bit because there's 2 things I want to – one thing I want to talk about and get your reaction. The second is you want to talk about, and I thought it was cool because you got me a nice present from your trip to Aruba. But the announcers – I was on the car ride coming home for the 4th game of the series, and I listened to – the Red Sox broadcast with Sean McDonough, and Joe Castiglione and Will Fleming. And then I got home and I watched some of the ESPN broadcast with Carl Ravitch.
Yep.
And I have to tell you that the TV broadcast is an absolute snore. I mean, it is so boring. Outside of having Verdugo interviewed in game,
he did good.
He's great at everything. I encourage a lot of people to try to find the audio of his post game interview on the radio after his walk off on Saturday, because that's the first time he's walked it off again, at all as a Red Sox. And his energy for life in the game is authentic, and it's very, very, very.
It's funny when you look at him, you don't picture him as a baseball player either. I feel like he should be like a Linkin Park concert or something like that.
Yeah, or riding a motorcycle with the chain on the pants and the whole deal.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. And so I was listening to in the car ride, and Will Fleming's the classic announcer with the classic voice and the classic stats. And I've listened to just him and Joe Castiglione, and it seems so lacking to me.
Right.
And then McDonough comes in, and it's literally like, when Scherzer goes to the Yard Goats for a rehab assignment. You're like, oh, that's what a major league pitcher looks like.
Right.
And Castiglione, no offense to Fleming, but like not only is McDonough good on the plays, but he's bringing stuff up that he's so comfortable in his skin. He's been around so much that he has anecdotes about everything. He's making fun of Dave O'Brien's height. He's talking about, all this stuff with Jackie Bradley's golf game. And
you're bringing intangibles to it that other people can't.
I didn't know what was missing until I heard him. And then I listened to, no offense to Carl Ravitch either, but it's just so.
It was Carl Ravitch and David Cohn, right?
I don't even know. Like I know Cohn is good, but like his voice is very generic.
Yeah.
And they find a way to kill personality.
Well, was it Fox had it Saturday? I watch on like this weird streaming service, so I never know what it's on. It was like AJ Pierzynski and some random guy. It was like AJ Pierzynski. It was like, just because you played Major League Baseball doesn't mean you can call a game. You know, like you only how many Jeter Downs references can you make in a game? You know, it's like, yeah, we get his name's Jeter.
If you're falling back on that more than 3 times,
right,
then you're struggling for content.
Right, like enough is enough, and it's just like I just don't like going back to what you said. Just because if you have insight in the game doesn't mean you're going to be great at talking about the game.
Correct.
Right? It's not easy to do. So it's like, just because you played the game doesn't mean you belong in the booth, A-Rod.
No, I think it's true. And anyway, I just wanted to share that observation. By the way, speaking of Jeter Downs, you see that slide?
Yeah.
That slide was at the winner on Saturday.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I mean, it was like full speed, no hesitation.
He's a good young player. You know, you got him because of Mookie.
And the funny thing about it is that the third base coach for the Red Sox is sending a lot of guys, but they're making it.
I feel like the Yankees guy's been pretty aggressive too, Rojas.
I think more often than not it works out. But I want to ask you. You just got back from Aruba.
Yep.
And you brought me a handy dandy Red Sox 2018 World Series shirt.
Are you sure it says 2018? It's not like a half a 8 there,
or like there's some misspelling. Yeah, it's not officially licensed
Red Sox
stuff. I don't see the sticker of authenticity.
No.
But it looks great.
You'll wash it and it'll be 8 sizes smaller.
And
sure.
It says Aruba on it.
Yeah.
And so the question I had to you when you gave me this, first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is everything Bogarts in Aruba?
Everything is Bogarts in Aruba. Yeah, pretty much. There's some Curacao with Andrew Jones.
Andrew Jones, yeah.
And I think Devers is from around down there too, I believe. But,
anyone from Bonero or whatever the third island is in the
I don't
Dutch
think
Antilles?
so, but everything is Xander Bogaerts down there. I mean, you go anywhere and you see. I mean, I know he's donated money for some fields down there. It was disappointing because we went to go try to watch a game and we checked them out on the schedules and everything. And we found
like a game down there.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like New Britain Bees caliber, semi-pro, and the game was canceled, and it said it was supposed to be played, and I looked at like 3 different schedules.
Because of like COVID, or
I don't know. Who knows? It probably got. It was a night game, so we know it wasn't heat. It just got canceled, and probably I wasn't on the special email chain to find that out.
So wait, when you were telling me there's no Yankee stuff?
No, you can't find like any Yankee stuff down there.
But you can find other teams besides, or is it all Red Sox?
No, there's a lot more Red Sox. There you can find just about any team,
but no Yankees.
There was the 2019 World Series Nationals was down there. They had the Rams NFL championship.
No Yankees.
No, very. I mean, if there's any Yankee stuff, it's like not barely anything. It's like a bottle cap opener. Nothing.
You think that's on purpose?
I don't know if it's like it's the Xander Bogaerts effect and the rivalry down there, or it's just somehow they clamp down on the pirate, because none of that stuff is real.
Right.
I mean, none of it's real. It's just not. So
maybe the Yankees are more aggressive on the copyright stuff.
I guess. Who knows? That would be my only 2 things. I don't think people are going down there and buying it in bulk and it's just disappearing. I guess So that would be my 2 guesses. But yes, it's definitely a more Red Sox island. Definitely Xander Bogaerts. But I mean, when you got one of the best players in baseball from your tiny little island, what else are you going to pull for?
My wife and I went to Curacao early in our marriage.
From there too.
Yeah, no, he's from Curacao.
Yeah.
But that was I was going to say is that his name was all over the place.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and it's incredible. I mean, I think Xander Bogaerts is, from all accounts, I don't know him personally, a really good human being, and he's a thoughtful guy and a talented athlete, and it's amazing to make it to the majors. And I'm not saying it's like Alexander Hamilton, but to get from where he was to where he is stunning.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's even more so than the Dominican, because they have scouts all over the Dominican. And
you go down there and you look at these fields too, even now, and this is after he's been in the league for like 8 years or whatever.
More.
And it's they're nothing special. I mean, nothing special at all. So it's not like it's an advanced, up-to-date system that they're running down there.
That's
and the kids,
cool.
The
would
kids
have been
are
fun to
playing
see a game.
It would have been fun to game. I was there with my 2 kids and my nephew, who's older, and he's a huge baseball fan. And
but they in those games they do vuvuzelas and it's like a party. It's
I'm sure it would have been
different.
great. And I don't understand. We were still pissed off the other day about that, talking about that.
Well, maybe not. Well, you're going to go back.
We'll definitely go back.
So,
we'll get to see a game.
So before we go, I want to talk about All Stars. quickly, and they named the full rosters. The Red Sox, I think the Yankees got 6.
6 total, yeah.
And the Red Sox got 2. It's Devers is starting at third, and Bogarts is a reserve shortstop. The reliever for the Red Sox, they thought maybe, but no, relievers, unless you're a closer, don't really get picked. And Christian Vasquez has been really good for the Red Sox at catcher, but he didn't get a nod either. I think Vasquez, to me, is the only one who could have been an all-star, but it didn't happen for him. Maybe someone will get injured and back out. But what did you think of? The Yanks, all 6, deserved it?
I mean, Stanton, his numbers are kind of ho-hum. I mean, it's more of the fact that I think he's
in his hometown, right?
Yeah, and he's doing stuff that, they didn't expect, right? He's playing the field. He's staying healthy for the most part. He had a little calf issue for a few days. But there's so many dang outfielders. You can always make a case for somebody else to be out there.
Who are the 6?
The Yankees 6,
yeah.
Trevino, Holmes, Cole, Judge, Giancarlo, and
who's the 6th?
Oh man, why am I blanking on this?
Matt, no, you can tell me. Producer Matt Royce. Oh, Nestor Cortez.
Nestor Cortez, yeah, nasty Nestor. But the thing I feel is weird about, we know it's all like a fan vote, and now they have also MLB votes, and then the coaches pick some or whatever.
You think there's a fix?
No, I don't think it's a fix. I just have a hard time with the whole, if a player's hurt, not hurt right now, obviously, if Devers doesn't, if he's, and Jordan's got an issue with his hand, if they can't make it. I'm talking about guys like Springer or Tim Anderson, guys that missed significant amount of time, maybe only played 42 games up to this
should
point.
They be all-stars?
Should they be all-stars? I feel like there should be some sort of criteria that you should have played a certain number of games, right? To be considered, right? Because we know what Pujols and Miggy are making it, right? They're going to be going. Now we know that's a sentimental thing, but look, Cal Ripken Jr. made it for 8-9 years on
wasn't good enough
on the sentimental vote. I get that they've done a lot for the game, but it's to be a starting at the shortstop, and I don't know off the top of my head how many games Tim Anderson played, but there was the first 2, Springer and Tim Anderson, that came to my mind.
But you're operating. Finish your point.
No, that's basically what I'm saying.
Well, I was going to say, you're operating under the premise that it matters, which is I find interesting in the first place, too. And I think in baseball, like it did, the NBA surprised me because a lot of guys got upset in the NBA when certain people got snubbed. And I think in the NHL, the Pro Bowl means nothing in the NFL. And I think that the All-Star Game in hockey is just a chance to party.
Right.
And it's fun. They want to play because they want to be able to see their buddies who they don't get to see all the time.
That's what MLB is basically now.
But I think making the team matters to people.
I'm sure there's stuff in contracts too. People
but the bonuses are if you're making $25 million, you get $150,000 for making the All-Star. It's real money.
But some of these guys aren't making that. The Contrerases, the Alejandro Kirks. Jock Peterson's making $3 million this year. He's the biggest bargain there is out there.
Right, but I'm not sure he's not getting $1 million for making the All-Star game.
Who knows? You never know. That might be a nice thing you could get in a contract if you're a Jock
First of all,
Peterson.
any money in a bonus is good money.
Exactly.
I would take
buys you that nice
amount.
car.
Yeah, it buys you anything. It buys you cushion
Decals.
and that emergency, account when you don't get that next contract. But
when your car dealerships fail,
or your car washes fail, or what have you. But I do think that despite the money side of it, I think it matters to these guys being considered an all-star.
I feel like they got to figure out a way for it to go back to mattering. Everyone dumped on Selig when they were saying, you get home field advantage in the World Series. Why is that such a bad idea?
I think that the money side of it could be better in the sense that I don't think football should ever have an all-star game, but in baseball, make a meaningful pool of money. Don't make it. Let's be honest. If you're going to pay them up to $40 million a year, have a couple million in a pool where they get a couple $100,000, and then they can have a bunch of it go to charity or something that gives them a significant amount of money. Because the truth is, just like you said, everyone loves money.
Yep.
These guys love money. And if they had a chance to play for 4 hours to make $150,000,
they'll do it.
They will play hard.
And everything's free over the weekend.
100%.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we'll try to come up with a good all-star proposal. He's John Senecal. I'm Brian Shackman. We enjoy you for listening and watching on YouTube and wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Until episode 83, this is Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports.